Before he murdered his first victim, Edmund Kemper decapitated the family cat. Ted Bundy, long before his killing spree, admitted to torturing animals for fun. It's a pattern so consistent, it's terrifying. The question is, how many monsters are we ignoring right now? In this story, we're peeling back the curtain on a dark truth hidden in plain sight, the disturbingly common link between early acts of animal cruelty and the making of a murderer. You'll hear about 7 infamous killers, their horrific beginnings, and the psychological warning signs that were overlooked. By the end, you may never look at childhood behavior the same way again. It's a pattern law enforcement and psychologists now call the Macdonald Triad, a trio of warning signs observed in childhood that could signal the development of violent tendencies in adulthood: bedwetting, fire setting, and most chilling of all, animal cruelty. In over 75% of the most gruesome criminal cases involving personality disorders, particularly serial killers, there's one consistent and shocking early behavior: the intentional torture and killing of animals. These aren't just anecdotes, they're early scenes in a larger horror story. Let's explore how some of the most notorious murderers in history began their descent into darkness, not with humans, but with helpless animals. Ted Bundy, charming, manipulative, and ultimately responsible for the rape and murder of at least 30 women, confessed in his final interviews to torturing animals as a child. Cats, dogs, even neighborhood wildlife. It was never about curiosity. It was about control, dominance, and the thrill of suffering. Brenda Spencer, the 16-year-old who opened fire at a San Diego elementary school in 1979, killing 2 adults and injuring 9 children, told police she didn't like Mondays. But behind her deadpan demeanor was a childhood pastime that never raised flags. She loved setting cats' tails on fire. What begins as small acts of cruelty builds into an appetite for violence. The escalation is often slow, silent, and hidden behind closed doors. Experts started drawing the connections in the 1960s, but it wasn't until case after case revealed similar origin stories that behavioral profilers began to sound the alarm. Albert DeSalvo, known as the Boston Strangler, once sealed a dog in a cardboard box and shot arrows through it. Anatoly Slivko, a Russian pedophile and serial killer, began with raising rabbits only to torture and butcher them. And then there's Edmund Kemper. At age 10, he cut off the head of his pet cat and kept it hidden in his closet. When his mother got him another cat, he killed that one too, this time dissecting it. Later, Kemper would go on to kill his own mother and several young women. Law enforcement began seeing these patterns, but often only in hindsight. How do you intervene before the violence turns fatal, when the only victims are animals? Why do some children who abuse animals grow out of it, while others become serial killers? Some psychologists argue it's not the act alone, but the intention behind it. Children who kill out of curiosity may grow with correction and empathy, but those who do it to feel power, control, or pleasure often exhibit signs of deeper psychopathy. Vasily Kulik, a Soviet serial killer, used to hang cats from trees and watch them die. Mikhail Malyshev began by killing stray animals, then eating them. Years later, he began to hunt people in a ritualistic fashion, describing the thrill in eerily similar terms. What's more haunting is how common animal abuse is and how rarely it's taken seriously. The deeper investigators and criminologists dig, the clearer the pattern becomes. Early intervention might have changed the paths of some of these killers, but instead, the signs were ignored, or worse, normalized. Imagine being the neighbor of a young Ted Bundy, thinking it's just boys being boys. Or seeing a kid like Brenda Spencer set a cat on fire and assuming it's an isolated, cruel prank. How many future killers are walking among us, killing quietly, not people, but pets? In one of the most chilling confessions ever recorded, Edmund Kemper, already imprisoned for killing his mother, was asked why he started with cats. He paused, smiled slightly, and said, "Because I wanted to see what it was like, and I liked it." There's a line that exists in the minds of most people, a moral, empathetic boundary. These killers never had that line, or if they did, they crossed it with the first cut, the first scream, the first drop of blood from a helpless animal. The link between early animal cruelty and future violence is now so strong that the FBI includes animal abuse in its criminal profiling database. Some states even require mandatory psychological evaluations for juveniles convicted of such crimes. But there are still cases slipping through the cracks. If there's one takeaway from this story, it's this: animal cruelty is not a harmless phase. It's not a joke. it could be the first sign of something far more dangerous. We're not just talking about protecting animals. We're talking about identifying the roots of evil before they take hold. If this story left you chilled like it did us, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a case that cuts this deep. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think early animal cruelty should be treated as a criminal offense, or is it just a disturbing phase some kids grow out of? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one.